Welcome to today's workshop on the ESRC's Doctoral Training Partnerships. For those of you who are regularly joining us, you'd know that we've already conducted one workshop on the ESRC DTPs, and that session was more of an overview on what the DTPs are, how does funding through the ESRC for a PhD project look like. And we discussed briefly the Grand Union DTP, which is one of the many doctoral training partnerships that falls under the ESRC program. So today what we're going to be doing is, so I'll quickly introduce Project EduAccess and introduce you to your speaker, after which I'll hand it over to the speaker who will give you an overview of, again, the ESRC Doctoral Training Partnership Program and what, scholarships for PhD programs in the UK look like through this route. And then he will specifically talk to you about two DTPs. One is the LISS-DTP, which is the London Interdisciplinary Social Sciences Doctoral Training Partnership, and the other is the SeNSS, which is the Southeast Network for Social Sciences, right? And talk to you about how do you find a supervisor for the project, what are the different pathways or projects that are funded through these DTPs, what kinds of courses are available, what are the core training requirements, what does the application timeline look like, and then give you general tips on making our application for the scholarship. We are Project EduAccess. We believe that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege that most people from marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost, information, and dispositional barriers. And we try to improve inclusivity in these spaces by removing some of these barriers for people from marginalized communities in the global south. We do this by providing mentorship, engaging in advocacy, and running online and in-person workshops. And today's workshop is part of a series of online workshops that we do on scholarship opportunities for graduate programs, for master's and PhD programs. And so today we're talking to you about a scholarship opportunity for pursuing your PhD. And we're very happy to have with us Hitesh, who has kindly agreed to join us and speak to you. Hitesh was a mentee with us last year, and it's amazing that now he is speaking to all of you about his experience on applying for these doctoral training programs and sort of help you with understanding what the application process looks like. So Hitesh is doing a PhD in development studies from King's College London, and he received both the LISS-DTP and the SeNSS DTP, but is currently on the LISS, which is the London Interdisciplinary Social Sciences Doctoral Training Partnership. But he'll talk to you about both of them. And thank you, Hitesh, so much for joining us. And we're really glad that we're seeing you on this side of the screen. So I'll hand it over to you now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Misbah. And thank you, Project EduAccess as well, for, I'm here, as Misbah said, Project EduAccess has a greater role to play in. And also my mentors, I would like to mention them as well, but I haven't taken their consent. So I thank to them as well. Uh, so basically the objective of this workshop is not just to inform you about these scholarships, but also to take you through the process how to address the questions which are being asked in the applications, and also how to there are some nitty-gritties, and it's bit a confusing process for most of us, as it was for me as well. And Unfortunately, you do not have any kind of help cell or any easy access where you can get the information for if you come across any uh, particular queries. Of course, your supervisors are there, but supervisors also had to be very well acquainted with the such scholarships. So, to give you the overview, there is this organization called UKRI, United Kingdom Research and Innovation, which is a branch of government which funds multiple research projects, not just doctoral students, but also the projects by independent researchers or maybe researchers within the universities, professors, centers, and also the departments. So it depends upon, it has two ways to, two ways of inflows and outflows of funding, one by demand as well, and another one from UKRI side also. But particularly here we are focusing on the UKRI's offerings in terms of studentships to doctoral students. And please note this thing that UKRI funds you fully in most of the cases, with the fees and also the living cost and other training and development opportunities. So these other training and development opportunities is huge plethora of, multiple kind of fundings which they combine together and they call it by different names. One particular thing is research training and support grant. We call it RTSG. We will talk about it in details in short. But you can't really apply to UKRI scholarships directly. They basically funds the organizations or the institutes or the universities, and then you have to apply to those particular universities, and then you can apply to UKRI independently, not through the even the, not through the universities. That depends on particular institutes and the DTPs. So to solve these problems, they have created some kind of cohorts of the institutions, or let's call it universities. They will form a group of universities, or they will form a group of funding agencies, and then it will be termed as DTPs, Doctoral Training Partnerships, because that could be a partnership either of UKRI with some other funding agency, or UKRI funding the whole thing, but with the multiple universities and the institutions. Now UKRI only takes 30% of the international students, for which they have sanctioned the scholarships. For example, there are 100 number of scholarships UKRI is providing this year within particular university. Then only 30 international students will be taken, will be considered for the scholarships. And as you know, as it's written here as well, minimum stipend is now 18,628. I'm sorry, I guess I had written it to 622. It's 28, and it used to be 17 or 16 before. Now, since considering the inflation and all the other things, and after multiple protests by the students and the universities as well, they have raised it by 2,000. And minimum tuition fees they might cover is 4,712. We will talk about how they actually cover this tuition fees and living cost as well in details after this. But if your university is situated in London, then you will get 2,000 pounds more per year to spend. So 18,600 is a normal kind of, you can say, rate of stipend. But if your university is particularly within London, then you will get 2,000 more. Now, as I already told you, there are some kind of you could say confusions. UKRI doesn't really provide all the tuition fees as a waiver, but it sometimes it just covers UK home fees, which are around that figure of 4,712. But in certain cases, it fully funds the international students as well, and in other cases it asks the institutes or the university which you have applied to particularly to fill that gap in. And if your university also is not able to fill that gap in, then it's the onus of finding the resources completely on you. But that can be managed after. But I haven't heard of many such cases who had to do it on their own, because ultimately if your supervisor is much more interested in your project and also the department where you have applied to, they will try to find some or other kind of resources, or at least will guide you where to look for. Anyway, so this the fundings through UKRI, you don't really have to rely on only university and institutions to find, but you can find those on some particular websites as well. For example, here we have given find a PhD. And of course, research organizations set their own application deadlines. As you might be aware, in UK, in most of the cases, the application deadlines for the university and the application deadlines for the scholarships are different. So we have to, bear that in mind. And these deadline, these applications often, open around October, November, and close by January, February. So you have only this window, like 3 to 4 months of window where you could work on your applications, or you can start earlier as well, but it's better because every time, every year, there might be some changes in the scholarships. Yeah. So can I have a next slide, please? Yeah. So there are these 7 research councils within the UKRI through which they fund, and these councils are, you could say, those are demarcated or divided from the point of view of the field of the study. Like you can see, arts and humanities AHRC is about the courses which are related to arts or the humanities or liberal arts. Then biotechnology and biological science, there is separate council, but here we are mostly concerned about one which is called Economic and Social Research Council. So most of the social sciences courses are funded by ESRC itself, but in some cases AHRC also takes part in very few scholarships, one or two maybe. I personally came across. Sometimes ESRC and HRC funds together as well. There was one such scholarship which I had also come across. I guess it was given by White Rose Foundation, but I'm not sure if it's still there. But yeah, ESRC mostly provides the scholarships for the social sciences courses and also the PhDs, which are related to that. Then as I told you, when ESRC is also trying to fund students, it's mostly through the cohort kind of thing. Cohort in the sense, or the group, in terms of groups of institutions or groups of funders. So that's what we call doctoral training partnerships, and henceforth we will be calling it DTPs. So ESRC funds 14 DTPs, such DTPs, and there is a list I might share with you as well of all these 14 DTPs, and they have renewed it this year as well. And mostly most not famous but popular among those are Grand Union DTP, which provides the scholarships at Oxford, Brunel University, and the Open University. Then there is this LISS-DTP and SeNSS, CNSS, or we will call it SeNSS for Southeast Network for Social Sciences and more. So yeah, can we move on? Yeah. So this is first we will talk about the London Interdisciplinary Social Sciences Doctoral Training Partnerships LISS-DTP, which I am currently having now, and I chose to go ahead with. So LISS-DTP is mostly distributed among King's College London, Imperial College London, and Queen Mary University of London, and it's led by King's College London. Led in the sense the whole management of this DTP will be upon the King's College and their department. So it also is run by mostly my department, which is called Department of International Development, and they play the role of management and providing the training, research training, and also trying to organize different workshops and multiple kind of things which involves research methods training. But you can apply to these 3 universities, and then you can, if you're applying one among these 3 universities, then you can apply for these scholarships. So students join, like I said, the student joining the LISS-DTP are registered at either King's, Queen Mary, or Imperial, and you can apply to that. So these DTPs only fund home tuition fees for international students, and remainder has to be paid either by the applicants department or the home institutions. For example, if you are at King's and you are not covered with the home tuition fees, then King's will pay for it, or the another source of self-funding. Now, to just give you the fact that varies, that is not sacrosanct fact, but this year LISS-DTP whichever students came from LISS-DTP, international, from all the other countries or the other parts of the world than UK, they were all funded by their home institutions. So mostly it's being funded, but in certain cases that depends on the interest of the your home institution and the department as well. But mostly it's the gap gets covered by your home institution, and if not, then they will of course provide you or guide you or direct you to some particular funds where you can manage all these things. But let me tell you that the gap is huge. For example, UK home rates fees are mostly around 4 to 5,000, and the international fees are around 20 to 25. That varies from institution to institution. So the another important point of LISS-DTP is it offers two kind of courses. One is 1+3, which is masters plus PhD, and then +3, that is PhD only. So you don't have to have masters before applying to this scholarships. You can apply with the masters, or you can apply without masters as well, and you can apply with masters to 1+3 as well. So that's perfectly fine. And in what conditions you apply to these particular courses or pathways, that we'll talk about it in the next slides, I guess. So most of the information about application process you can find it on the LISS-DTP. LISS-DTP has given a very comprehensive kind of information about the application process, what they provide, what is it about, than the SeNSS does not provide you much more information, but here in this workshop we will try to cover it. Yeah, can we please go move on to the next slide? Yeah, so first thing, of course, foremost thing is you have to find the supervisor which whose interest align much more with your research project idea. So first, of course, you need to develop a general sense of the research project, your idea, and then go on to this institute's website, and then maybe if you have any particular department in your mind where you want to work. But what I had observed, I wrote to people across various departments, right from geography, even though I come from economics and development studies background, but I also had written to the geography department, digital humanities, and many more. So it's because most of the people are situating at different departments, even their core training is for a particular subject like economics, but you can find some economists in digital humanities and geography as well. Anyway, so you have to find this, and then you approach them, you write to them, they revert back to you if they like your project and the idea, and then they will suggest you some kind of revisions, and then you refine your project idea as necessary. And department websites are good place to start, like it's written there to find academics, or maybe you can also try to find it through the papers which you already have written, or the papers which you think that some person from King's or the Imperial or the Queen Mary had written, and you might want to apply to write to that person as well. That's totally fine, and that's actually you know very much that's how you should go. But we do not find always the people whom we have read situating at such institutions. And once you make contact with them, inform them that you are of course looking for the scholarships, and fully funded scholarships, and you also have looked into the LISS-DTP, and ask them whether are there any other sources or not. If not, then of course LISS-DTP is there, and discuss the possibilities with your supervisor. Yeah. uh, so on the next slide, these are some sources where you can find the guidance and the advices on PhD applications, and how to find supervisors, and what to look for, especially when you are on to finding supervisor. So find the PhD is there, which we already talked about them. This postgrad.com is there, and prospects.ac.uk. Here on these three websites you can find the supervisors, or even the PhDs which are available. Even if it's project-based PhD, that also could be found here, because LISS-DTP and SeNSS both have project-based PhDs as well. That is predefined project, predefined PhD research topic, and you will just apply to that. It's not your own topic. Anyway, we will talk about it later on. Again, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So, there are these 13 thematic pathways, and we have to be careful while selecting it. Generally, your supervisor is supposed to, guide you which pathway you should apply to. And then across these 13 pathways, the LISS-DTP will select the students accordingly. So, one mistake which I did, I went through all the past or the current students of the LISS-DTP who had received these scholarships, and I distributed the numbers across all these pathways, and I found that some pathway was given more scholarship than the other. But my supervisor, who was also the part of LISS-DTP before I applied to the scholarships, that person that he has to say that it doesn't really depend on that, so don't go by that. That's if you might see like work organization and business management is getting more people, and politics, public policy and governance are not getting much more scholarship. It doesn't work like that. It totally depends on the quality of your application and the proposal. So even if you are applying to some kind of pathway, or through that pathway, which might not have received any scholarship last year, but this year you might get it, as it's totally depends upon the applications. If they don't get enough and good enough applications for a particular pathway, they might choose to not really take any person for that particular pathway. So that totally depends on them. So generally these pathways can also vary, like if you are applying to international development department or any other development studies department, but your project might seem mostly uh, 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 like align with strategic and regional and security studies, then that's totally fine. Or if it's education, mind and society, you can apply to that as well. But this decision, I would suggest, should be taken in accordance with your supervisors. Let's say what your supervisor has to say, and they will select, because they also have to write a recommendation letter for you, and in that recommendation letter they highlight this particular pathway and why your application is most fit for that and the department also. So it's not only about what project your project is, but it's also about what department you are applying to, who is your supervisor, and which pathway that supervisor wants you to apply to. So yeah, you will see the details of these pathways on this web link as well, which you have provided here, and you can read more in details about that as well. You see what kind of projects comes across these things. You can see the name of current students as well and their project details, and decide over it. But this is, I would say, this is not as crucial as we think. But it's just, maybe you just have to find a perfect pathway, discuss with supervisor, and get it ahead with it. Yeah. Okay, next please. So yeah, there are these eligibility criteria. As I told you, if you are applying to 1+3 scholarship, then you have to have bachelor's degree or the BSc honors or equivalent. So it could be a first class standard or upper second class as well, with average of 65%. So in most of the cases here in UK, they also call it or refer to it as 2:1, 2:1, that is second class first division, or 2:2, second class second division. But most of the colleges and universities and also the DTPs prefer students having at least 2:1, 2:1, that is second class first division. So it's mostly the case, but that's not necessary. Even if it's eligibility criteria, I guess some people still apply for that. Still apply even if they have 2:2, if you can justify it through your SOP or the application. So don't worry about that. You just apply, give it a shot. And if you are applying for +3, of course you need an appropriate master's degree. A distinction or at least high merit level is expected, but even if it's not there, that's totally fine. You still can apply and demonstrate your research skill through the rest of your application, because they don't really stop you at there. Because there is one more component which is much more important for such DTPs, which is called the core training requirements, which we'll talk about in a while. And of course other qualifications relevant to the proposed area of study, such as professional and work related expertise, will also be considered, as I told you, like not just your masters or bachelors or degrees, but if you have come across research related work during your professional experience, that is also fine. And this is a bit important, that if you are applying to these scholarships, then you must be close to the London, so that you can commute whenever it is possible. This is a very new kind of concept. Before that it wasn't there, because people used to choose to stay a bit far from London, or even in some other countries, but they have now closed that option, and they want you to be there at least for first 1 to 2 years now. But nobody really moves. Everyone wants their supervisor at very much approachable, so it's better to be in London. And project must be at least 50% social science, even though it's not totally social science, but at least a methodology or some part of it must be aligned with the social aspects of the studies. So there are many people who come from medical background, and they apply to, for example, suppose clinical psychology, and but they would like to look it from the perspective of socio-economic variations and the determinations. Then those people can also apply to these scholarships. Even if you are coming from STEM background, you can apply to these scholarships if it's 50% of social sciences. How do they decide that we don't know, but we can on our level we can decide that ourselves, like how much part of it is becoming the social sciences, what kind of methods I'm using, what kind of methodology I'm using, whether the epistemological questions are rooted in social sciences or not. These are the questions which we have to ask ourselves. And again, must not be more than 1 year full-time or 2 year part-time into PhD program. So you should not be already enrolled in the PhD program which has already 1 year full-time or part-time. One thing which I forgot to mention here, you can apply to both the types of courses. One is full-time and part-time, and LISS-DTP provides full funding to both ways. So even if you want to apply for part-time, you can apply for part-time as well. And they don't really discriminate among that, whether to give. It totally again depends on your proposal. It totally depends on your application, quality of your application, irrespective of whether it's full-time or part-time. And as we already mentioned, primary supervisor must be based within the LISS-DTP partner institution, that is King's, Queen's, Queen Mary, or the Imperial. Yeah. So moving to the next slide. Uh, now, how to decide should I apply for 1+3 or 3? So there is this, flow chart which you can refer to. If you have masters, then yes, you can think of +3. If you don't have masters, then of course apply for 1+3. Then there is no option. But even if you have masters, is your masters related to your area of PhD study? If no, then you have to speak to the supervisor, and that supervisor might advise you to go for 1+3. And if yes, then this is very much important. Does your masters meet at least 75% of ESRC core training requirements? What is that? We will see it in next slide. But if your application or your masters meet 75% of core training requirements, then of course you can apply for +3. If not, then 1+3. Now let's move on to the next slide and see what do we really mean by ESRC core training requirements. So basically, you can see here a lot of words, lot of jargon, and jargon ridden thing and all. When you come across this information for the first time, it might intimidate you, and maybe affect your decision that no, I never studied this. But that might you have studied, you might not have been attentive to this, but most of the masters courses in India cover these more than 70%, 75% of these methods and these things. For example, one is research design in social sciences. So I guess even though suppose in some cases I there was one aspirant who had asked me that she had completed the a masters from Open University and there were no research courses. Even though there are no particularly targeted research courses, research design is something which is being taught within the mainstream courses as well. For example, sociology book. In your sociology book itself, first one or two or three chapters will be talking about the research design itself. For example, how do you there is this book in 12th standard of it NCRT, and they talk about the common sense and the epistemology and all that itself becomes a research design. So you, if you are doubtful about that whether your research design was taught in your masters or not, then you can you can approach to your previous teacher or the professors or lecturers, whoever has taught you those courses, but it's mostly the part of it. Then then data collection, management, dissemination, that also comes in the our masters, especially if you had the dissertation. We had 12 credits dissertation. Some people might have 8 credits dissertation, some people might have 4 credits. Even though credits varies, but you, if you still had dissertation and you have collected some kind of data, that also becomes the part of your training. So it means that you had handled the data, you had disseminated data in particular manner. Social theory and epistemology are again inherent part of your mainstream subjects itself. Whether you are trying to learn economics, then positivism and experimental approaches are the part of it. And if it's sociology, then interpretivism, then feminism comes. It's interdisciplinary, it goes across the subjects. Then post-colonial critique as well, we have already learned in this. So in some institutes like maybe TISS or Ambedkar University Delhi, and of course JNU, and some other as well, no like uh, uh, University of Hyderabad or somewhere. I don't know how it goes in other universities, but these were not explicitly part of our courses, but they were imbibed, or they were I could say inherent part of some other courses through some other means. For example, Marxism, post-structuralism were not, and post-colonial critique was not the special subjects, and they were not mentioned explicitly, but they were the part of one of the course which were taught to us. What the name goes by, concept, history and theory of development. So you have to be attentive to that, and I'm sure most of you would be able to find these words within the other courses. So I would suggest, if you have already done masters, go for +3 for sure. Even though you are not much confident about such methods training, ESRC still gives you a lot of time to revise these methods and these trainings. So but you just need to justify it in your applications, that yes, you are acquainted with case study analysis, yes, you are acquainted with archival methods, yes, you are acquainted with visual methods, you might have heard about it, and you need not you don't have to be acquainted with all of it, but try to cover it. Because when you start writing into the writing application for LISS-DTP or SeNSS, they ask particular questions about it, and you have to demonstrate these core training requirements through the courses which you have taken. So most of the in last month, 3 4 5 people approached me for the LISS-DTP only, and they were very much confused that these courses were not taught. So should they go for 1+3? I would suggest no. You still can find multiple kind of things. Now it's about quantitative methods. So quantitative methods is crucial here. There was this kind of myth, I would say, which was often being told, especially when you are you start applying to LISS-DTP or SeNSS or any other ESRC scholarship, that ESRC prefers students or the research projects which have quantitative methods in it. That is a myth. That's not a requirement, that's not necessary, even though they ask particular questions in your applications. Whether you are, they will ask you directly whether you are research project is going to use advanced quantitative methods or not. If no, just say no, it doesn't affect your application. But yeah, having a good kind of knowledge is good, even if you might not have had these quantitative methods as your master's or bachelor's course. It's fine. If you even did not have the experience of using quantitative methods during your professional experience, that also is fine. But if you have read on yourself, that also you can demonstrate. I'm sorry, yes, somebody wants to talk. Bhagyashri, your mic is on. Anyway, sorry. So quantitative methods you can read on yourself, especially read some general descriptive stats, mean, median, mode, or sampling methods. Questionnaire design, that's pretty simple. Read that and go ahead with that and write it in your application that you have substantial knowledge of such methods. Yeah. So these are the ESRC code and requirements. And if anyone is applying this year and already in the process, I might help them more in terms of formulating these questions and how to look into it. But I would suggest to look at it, go back again to your syllabus of masters and bachelors, and go into the details, because I am sure each and every course has their descriptive and comprehensive syllabus given to us. Go through that and see where you can find these words. Even if not, can you relate it to some other subjects or some other things, or even your personal project or group projects where you might have used such methods? Yeah. So moving on to the next slide. uh, so timeline is, for this application, last date is 26 January, and it's close to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Mind you, it's GMT. It's UK time. It's not the IST time. I had made the same mistake, but you should not do that. So it's 5 p.m. GMT, and that means India is ahead in the time. So it will be, I guess, 11 o'clock or something around that. You please check it out. So just keep a track on it. And you need to first apply to, again revising this thing, you need to first apply to the university. Before that, you need to write to the supervisor and then apply. You must have either received the place at that university, or you at least should have applied to that university. That is also fine for LISS-DTP. For SeNSS, it's not that. For SeNSS, you must have received the place at the university or the institution, and then only you can apply. So first round, they haven't mentioned this on LISS-DTP website that there are 2 rounds, but every year they have kept some, they have mailed some people that they are waitlisted, and they might be their application might be considered if someone declines, who is already into the list, first list of the outcome. So first list of the outcome you can expect in second week of April, and once, if you are waitlisted, then you can expect that outcome around mid-May. And formal offer letters will be, you will be getting it around 15th April or something, and then you have plenty of time to, if you want, if IELTS or TOEFL English language training is part of it, you can apply to that letter as well. Not necessarily you have to apply to it before itself. Then you have a lot of time to even apply to the visas and all that thing. If you are applying before only, that's well and good, but of course you can't apply to before, because you need CAS from your university. Anyway, cast letter, which we call it, that's something else. So moving on to the next slide. uh, uh, Application documents, what you need. So there is online LISS-DTP student application form. Now you have to be very much attentive to this, whether you are applying to 1+3 or +3. There are 2 forms. I myself had made a mistake of applying to 1+3 instead of +3. Then I had to take my form back and then refill it. But I don't think that's the case in every sense. Like, they give you that window to refill it, but fortunately I could do that. And but let's not do it. So be clear about whether it's 1+3 or +3. Then supervisor statement, they will get directly mail from the LISS-DTP, and they will have to do that. So it's not you, but you can keep track of it. You can follow up with your supervisor, you can mail them. That's totally fine. Whether you have filled it or not, you will also get the email if they have filled the supervisor statement. Then some degree transcripts and reference from a person other than your supervisor. That could be the same person who has given you reference for the for your place at university. It doesn't matter. And I would suggest to have that as an academic reference as much as possible. If not, it's fine, but stick to the academic reference anyway. And all four parts must be sorry anyway, all four parts must be submitted by deadline. And there are links on the LISS-DTP website to online forms together with PDF versions to assist you in preparing your answer. So you can go through the form before as well. You can download it, see what kind of questions are asked, and make a draft of it, and then you can just copy paste it there. Yeah. So moving next, it's about SeNSS, Southeast Network for Social Sciences Doctoral Training Partnership. SeNSS DTP provides this scholarship across 10 universities. First, 3 of them are in London, okay, and others are outside London. So as I told you that stipend varies. If your university is outside London, then stipend would be around 18,600 pounds, and if it's in London, then it will be 20,600 around. So at City, then at City University of London, Roehampton and Goldsmith, you will get 20,600 of a stipend, and at all the other university you might get 18,000. And it's perfectly, they have done the calculations, and I guess that's, of course, not, no stipend is sufficient enough for PhD students, but it's sufficient enough for now at other universities as well. So SeNSS also, so the main difference between LISS-DTP and SeNSS is SeNSS have fully funded scholarships or studentships to all the students, irrespective of whether you are home student, UK student, or the international student. So that's the really welcoming fact of it. And again, outstanding supervision is there. It's in LISS-DTP as well. It depends on your supervisor, nothing else. And high quality advanced training as well, which is also the part of LISS-DTP. Now we will be comparing it when we talk about the SeNSS. And a way for social science research to make a difference, yeah, of course. So you have to be very much aware about research impact. In your applications, they will ask you this question, and in your research proposal as well, you have to keep it 1 line or 2 lines on research impact at the end of your proposal. And if you haven't done it already, please do that. How the research impact will be in practical sense. Yeah. So next, please. Yeah, so since encourages applications again through 13 pathways similar to the LISS-DTP, and master's degree here is again not a prerequisite for applying. Bachelor's, with people with bachelor can also apply, and but again subjected to the course structures. So now SeNSS have much more complicated course structure. They have 4 kind of structures: 1+3, 2+2, +3, and +4. So these are the things. +3 is direct PhD for sure, as I mentioned already regarding LISS-DTP. 1+3 is 1 year masters, 3 years your PhD. 2+2 is kind of much more integrated. 2 years you will have to be in coursework, and 2 years you will be working as a PhD. But the year between that, like second year of coursework and first year of the PhD, that these 2 years could be combined together, as in you don't have much load of the coursework. And then +4. Now how it works, we will talk about it in next slide maybe. But applicants who are willing to apply for 1+3, 2+2, and +4, that is people with the bachelor's, no masters, should normally possess a bachelor's degree but with honors from a recognized university. Now SeNSS makes it more complicated because they have the list of approved degrees, and you have to go through those lists and see if your course fits into that. If your course doesn't fit into that, then you will have to talk to your supervisor, and then decide what to do that. There is a calculator as well, which the part we will talk about later. And applicants who want to apply for +3 award must normally have successfully completed, of course, master's degree with appropriate research training. Here, an appropriate research training also means the same thing which we discussed before, ESRC core training requirements. If you meet that, so it's not just you have masters, you have to have meet with that 75% criteria of ESRC core training requirements as well. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the pathways. Now again, make sure that you are applying to particular department from these universities, because every university doesn't offer all the pathways scholarships. So here you can see the ticks. This you can find on SeNSS website as well, or the websites of particular university also. So mostly UEA, that is University of East Anglia and Sussex, provides most of the scholarships for all the pathways, but other universities have a very limited kind of scholarships across the pathways. So so basically, if I would like to apply for it, I will see development studies, economics, human geography, and maybe social work and social policies. So you can see UEA or Reading, Royal Holloway, Surrey, and Sussex are the most probable places where I can apply to, and these are the universities where I should try to find my supervisor. And it's only one application, for or student. You can only apply to one university and one application. You can't have the places. Suppose you got the place at Royal Holloway and Sussex as well, and but you want to apply for the both, you can't do that. You have to choose whether you want to apply through Royal Holloway or you want to apply through the Sussex. Yeah. Next, please. Yes. So what does SeNSS consist of? So again, it's similar to the very much similar to the LISS-DTP. Now, to draw some similarities in between that, why these scholarships are really, I myself personally found it much more generous, because it has the huge pool of research training support grants, which you also call it RTSG, which are around, if we combine everything, then 1,500 or something per year, pounds per year. Then you have overseas international visit as well, where your stipend will be continued and you will get extra 3,000 pounds as well, and you can go to the university of your choice, other university or other institution or any library or anything like which is a research organization in any other country all over the world except UK. And you can go there, and they call it overseas international visit. For 3 months you can visit it. Then if you have field work outside UK, then you have 5,000 up to 5,000 pounds of funding which you can use, and that's huge, I guess. Then if you want to learn particular language, for example, my field work will be in Chennai and Mumbai, so I would like to learn maybe Tamil, and I would like to take courses. They have again the funding of up to 3,000 pounds for the language training. And for conferences and all this, you have to cover from RTSG. Books, you can ask for funding for book, you can ask for funding for laptop, you can ask for funding for anything which is related and most pertinent to your PhD progress. So that's why these two scholarships or any ESRC scholarships is of significance importance, because they have the generous funds available for you. Anyway, so moving to the next slide, please. Yeah, so now how do I decide which structure of studentship to apply? Now here, it's much, as I already told you, it's much more complicated than LISS-DTP, because they do not have just these 4 pathways or these 4 kind of type of structures: 1+3+3, 2+2 +4. Now, how do you decide? So there is calculator given on SeNSS website. If you can't find it, this website, this PPT will be provided to you, and I have put the link of it here. You can click on that, and they will ask you 4 questions, particularly questions related to 4 areas. One, your writing skills. Second, your skills with the applications, for example NVO or GIS or Stata, SPSS, Excel, anything they will ask. Then they will ask you about the qualitative methods and they will ask you about the quantitative methods, and it's just tick mark question. You just tick it or select multiple. Once you select, according to your research trainings, they will suggest you which path, which course of type of structure of the PhD you should apply for, whether it's 1+3 +3, 2+2 +4. Now there is one more thing. If you apply, if calculator might have suggested you go for 1+3, and they have or just +3, and you applied, and after your application the SeNSS found that you are eligible candidate and really good candidate, but you need more training, then SeNSS will reply to you with successful application, but we are providing a scholarship for plus 3.35 plus 3.50 or plus 3.25. That means when it comes 0.5, it means 6 months you have to spend in core training, core research training. So they will provide you the courseworks. They will give you, they will ask you to go through some kind of methods training. If it's 3.25, then 3 to 4 months you will spend in coursework, and then 3 years in PhD. Similarly, it applies to 1+3, 2+2, and +4 as well. So according to your core research trainings, they can shape up the course for you. So it's very much flexible basically. And on the other hand, at LISS-DTP that was not there. You can either apply to 1+3 or +3. But here you have 4 ways, and even if you don't fit in one particular type of structure, then they might take you through flexible structure. So that's a really good part about it, but that's also confusing. So I strongly suggest to talk about this with your supervisor, and also refer to the calculator. Refer to the calculator, approach to your supervisor, and then discuss it with them. Yeah. Moving ahead, uh, oh, oh, yeah, can we please have next slide? Yes. Now process is similar again. Prospective supervisor you have to find. Then what happens in SeNSS while applying SeNSS, it's not as easier as LISS-DTP. LISS-DTP you write to the supervisor, you apply to the college, and in meantime you can apply to the LISS-DTPs independently, separately. Here it's not like that. Once you find supervisor, you ask supervisor or supervisor ask you to apply to the SeNSS, then supervisor might himself or herself recommend you, or she or he can refer you to the PGR director, that is postgraduate research director, whoever is there, or scholarship director. Once they refer you to the scholarships head or PGR head, they will recommend your name on the SeNSS panel, and then they will send you the application link. Mind you, they will send you the application link. You might not find it on yourself, like unlike LISS-DTP. And then first stage will be the approval of university, college, or department itself. They will approve you, because you will not be the only one person applying to the SeNSS through that department. There might be other people as well, 1 or 2 more, and they will have to select how many students they can recommend this year. If they have the cap of 4 students, 5 students, they can go for it. Once they approve it, then it goes to the pathway review, which goes at the SeNSS level. So within SeNSS, they will see if your application is fit for this particular pathway, and they will score you. On the basis of score, it will go to the final review. Final review is, I don't know what happens there, but it must be mostly about diversity, maintaining diversity and equality in the cohort, and then outcome. So deadline for this is 9 February. So we have a lot of time, and 12 p.m. again, focus on this thing, like it's GMT midday, not the IST. So you have to apply accordingly. Yes. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now let's move to this is the last part of it, and then I will stop. I'm sorry, I might have, no, it's 1 hour. Anyway, so this is the last part. These are general tips, and I would like to, let you know that you have to be lot confident in this process. You might think this process and the words in application and also on their website might sound intimidating, but those are not really. We have had all the trainings, we have had all the skills. I also had doubted myself and thought, should I go for 1+3 masters plus PhD? But then when I look back into my courses, and I didn't went through the readings and all, but I just went through the syllabus. And when I went through it, I could recall it and I could connect it with my proposal. So that's why you have to be much more confident. There are questions based upon your trainings, qualitative training, quantitative training, and in that training you should be able to connect it with the methods courses which you have uh, already gone through, or the methods training during your professional experience. For example, I was working with some organizations where I had to go on the field and take the focus group discussions or surveys or quality data. That also I used here. Then connecting methods with your MA thesis, what methods you use in your MA thesis, whether the method you are currently using for your research proposal, does that match with your thesis? That should also be reflected in your applications, not just in question answers to these questions, but also in your proposal. And then this is very important part of the applications, that you have to fill potential collaborations. Are you going to collaborate with any research organization in India or anywhere else, or NGO, or any other, maybe university and department of university? And I guess that leverages your application a bit. Even if you haven't contacted this organization or any of these institutions, it's fine. You can still mention it. For LISS-DTP, in SeNSS, you have to put the contact of the person. So if you are applying for SeNSS, make sure you already approach to these organizations, NGOs, or whatever institutions or departments, and then you put the contact details of that person. In LISS-DTP, you can tentatively select few organizations, write it down that these are these 3 to 4 organizations I am going to work with. They can provide you in multiple. This collaboration can be of multiple times, either monetary or just providing the office space for as your workspace, or field work, or access to database, anything. But this is, I think, a bit crucial, because LISS-DTP and also SeNSS is looking forward to collaborate with such other organizations more and more. Then demonstrate your skills through comprehensive experiences. So just don't use academic, of course, mostly focus on academic trainings and everything, but also try to relate it with the life and the work, because this is very much important. Like most of the things we learn from our life experiences and also from our work experiences. And you should be, not always, but it's good to connecting it with the these three things together. And please be careful while filling the application form, because the questions are often confusing. For example, these collaboration questions, I came across one application which I was reviewing last week, and that person thought that the collaboration means general things like how I can collaborate with other organization without mentioning it. But no, it's a very particular question asked to you, and you have to write the names of these research organizations or institutes or whatever not. So select the keywords, divide the, because questions are longer, those are lengthier, those are not just 2 line 3 line questions, those are lengthier. Explain what they mean by that. So please read it carefully. um, Divide it in parts as those are longish, and avoid the misinterpretation of it. If you have any doubt, contact supervisors, but all supervisors might not be aware of this thing. So it's better to contact DTP managers whose email IDs are given on their websites. If you go through FAQs as well, there as well you will find this. And proofread, make sure you have enough time to proofread it multiple times. Make sure you involve potential supervisors, and make sure that you have enough time to go through application guidance and other documents. Those are also longish, but it's better to go through that before you submit your application. There are a few other things which I haven't written here. which is about the application, and I will finish it in 2 minutes. There is a point about employment details. So there are only 4 slots available in LISS-DTP application. So make sure you are only putting relevant organizations and the workplaces which are much more related with your research training and everything. And also don't forget to mention these organizations and what you learn from it in your SOP, so that it links your application to all the other questions. In SOP, use UKRI and ESRC terminology. For example, they focus much more on research impact, and they focus much more on interdisciplinary approaches as well. So do not forget to also mention the courses which inspired your research proposal, and also receive good grades in you might have received good grades in. And Project EduAccess has a really good documents on SOP making, so you can refer to that. It helped me a lot how to write and what to write in these things. Then LISS-DTP's research training method models are there. You can mention those in your SOP as well. So what they are going to teach you basically in research training, if you can write it down, these courses would benefit me more, and that's why applying to LISS-DTP is much more crucial to me. It makes a lot difference, and it's accessible there. So write it down. If you do not have training in particular thing, write it down there. All right, and go through it. If you don't find the link, I can send you that. Then external collaborations I already talked about. In SeNSS form, there are 3 very important things. One is overseas fieldwork expense calculation you have to give. Make sure you are not giving, like uh, like 10,000 or 15,000 pounds or something. Max limit, I would suggest, it's not hard and fast, but max limit should be 3,000 to 4,000. That can always be extended. But calculations, give realistic calculations and make sure you have the calculations. You can ask the people who already might have done their field work and how much cost they had to incur. That you have to make sure. Then language training, in language training as well, it might not be the case that you might always have to take language training, but if you can, please take it, because ESRC wants or looking for candidates who can use their funds at max. And that's that they actually literally are doing that. If you can't lose their funds, go waste actually. That goes back to the government, and they don't really want to do that. So they wanted to use the funds at max. So write it down. If you want to learn specific language, if you want to go overseas, if you want to go to overseas international visit, that also. And collaborative partners, which I have covered. So I will stop here, and I hope I haven't exceeded my time limit. Yeah, and question please if you have any.
That was really wonderful. Thank you so much, Hitesh. That was really comprehensive, and I'm sure everyone it helped people understand what the application process is like, because it can get so confusing with the DTPs. So there are a few questions in chat that came up while you were giving the presentation, and there's one hand that's raised. So maybe Karthik, you can ask your question first, and then we'll go to the questions in chat.
Firstly, thank you so much for the session. So it is just yesterday that I applied for a ERC for Brunel University. However, I was completely clueless regarding the whole process, and it took me a lot of efforts to apply for it. So my first question is that Hitesh mentioned regarding a window wherein we can edit the application. So there was a question regarding methodology in my application, which I was not aware that you have to mention all the training that has been received, including the thesis process. So I haven't mentioned about my thesis in that application. So should I ask the team if there is any window so that I can edit the application again? This is my first question. And my second question is regarding LISS-DTP. Hitesh mentioned that the students who are already enrolled for a PhD in India, those cannot apply for a DTP, like a LISS-DTP. So is it that what you mentioned? Because my network issues were there, so I couldn't hear you properly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kartiki. Your first questions about methods training and your thesis. it's not always, you have to mention it, but if it relates to your current project research proposal, and if it is, overlapping your research methods or research trainings, then of course you should mention it. It goes without saying, and that will add a lot of leverage to your application as well. Second, it's even if there is no direct use, but you can demonstrate your trainings, which have because in this application they will ask you the questions on qualitative method training, quant method training, and other trainings as well. So of course you should mention these trainings, and we should use as much as possible. We should make use of these things, because we are if these courses were taught to you, that's not the case with most of the people over the world. People are not being taught methods training in details as much. As if you have already had that, then you can make use of it. And of course, whether it's overlapping with your research proposal or not, still you can mention it if you can find somewhere to feed that information in. Second, about the PhD, if you have already enrolled to the PhD, if it's full time, 1 year, it should not be exceeded 1 year, 1 year or before that. If it's full part time, then 2 years is the cap. So if you have enrolled yourself part time and you still, it's just your first year, you can absolutely apply for that. If it's full time and not 1 year, just 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, you can apply to this DTPs for sure. Then one more question was there, which was supplementary question about whether you can edit it or not application. It depends. Now for LISS-DTP, you can't edit it. For SeNSS, once you get the approval from your home institution or the university, then they give you the, I guess, window of 13 or 14 days to edit it and resubmit the application. And then you go back to your supervisors and discuss it more, or maybe if not supervisors, you can discuss, like you can think on it on yourself, or you can discuss with other people and edit it. So for SeNSS, editing is an option, but for LISS-DTP, I don't think there is any editing option.
To clarify, the editing option I was asking for ESRC. So yesterday only I applied for Brunel ESRC. So that question was regarding for Brunel. If you
That
have any idea regarding it.
Yeah, I do not have idea about the Brunel, but in SeNSS we had editing option, and with LISS-DTP we didn't have. So it means, and what I think from that thing, it depends on scholarship to scholarships, DTPs to DTPs, and universities to universities. So maybe you can check, you would like to check with the managers, scholarship managers over there at Brunel, or any other person from that particular scholarships you are applying to. If the funds are directly given to your department or college, ESRC funds, and they are providing this ESRC scholarship through their own institution, then I guess they might have some, like you might get some chance of revising it. But of course, that totally depends on them. You have to check with them.
Okay, thank you so much. This really helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll take the questions in chat. The first one is, I'm applying to SOAS. Am I eligible to apply for any of the DTPs?
Yeah, there was one DTP. I don't know if it's still there. Last year it was there. It's called UBEL, UBEL. So UBEL is ESRC funded DTP only, and that you can apply to. And the best part about it is UBEL is you get the scholarship for 4 years. So if you want to extend your PhD for not most, but some people, 50% people who extend their PhDs to the 4th year because they couldn't complete writing part in 3rd year. So for them, it's really good. And so you can think of applying to UBEL. There is one more ESRC, which is funded directly to some departments, and those departments provide those, but it's not a DTP. It's a direct ESRC funding for particular subjects or particular topics. So that you will have to check with the departments. And I'm sure SOAS has a really good kind of website for this, and they have given the whole list of scholarships which you can apply to with the deadlines. And it's I guess it's the only university which has given it more clearly, I guess. So you can go and check there. Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay. So the next question is, what degree of detail in the idea should I have before approaching the supervisor? Is it a general introduction to my interests plus the work they have done that interests me, or a complete research proposal?
yeah, thank you for that question, Aisha. That's actually, I guess I forgot to mention about it. It depends on what type of course structure you are applying to. If you are applying to 1+3, then they might not expect the whole fully developed research proposal from you. But if you are applying to only +3, then you must have fully developed research proposal with that. Fully developed in the sense it should not be, like it should not be perfect as such, but your supervisors can add to that. So when I first wrote to one professor at Leeds University, I guess my proposals level what was not that much as I thought, and I was really disappointed with that. But I got a really good response from that professor. So I would encourage people to not judge your proposal on yourself. Instead, go for it, give it a shot, write something, write the interest, do the literature review a bit of it, whatever is possible, and approach people. Let's see what happens. And you can of course go back and work on it, come back and approach the same professor. They would never mind. uh, I guess it might help you, Ulta, to like you are a perceiving person or something kind of thing. Yeah.
That makes sense. So there's a follow-up question to the UBEL DTP. I think that the one for SOAS, which is that there's option for applying for the 3.5 and 3.25. What do you suggest? And is there any way that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I will drop my email IDs, but regarding that question, I guess that depends whether 3.5 or 3.25. Supervisor must be the best person to guide you on that, because they are much more aware about your trainings. You might have a call with them, ask a call, ask for a call to them and discuss it, discuss all the subjects which you had in masters or bachelors, what trainings you had, and maybe they might be able to tell you which is the best option for you. Yeah.
Great. The other question is, how many written pieces of work or thesis do we have to write if it's a combination? One each in master's and PhD, and only one at the end of the combined program. And I think relatedly, there's another question, so I'll just ask that as well, which is it necessary to have a written thesis or any published work before applying for the +3?
Yeah. Here I'm assuming thesis means dissertation, master dissertation. They are talking about Aisha and Ursula. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. If it's that, it's not a necessity. Like you don't have to have the thesis or dissertation during your masters. If you can demonstrate it through others, because I didn't find any particular direct questions asking whether you have worked on any thesis or dissertation in any of the application, not just this DTPs, not just ESRC, but most of the scholarships. So I don't think they give importance to your thesis or dissertation, unlike USA. In USA, they give that importance to your thesis dissertation, in my dissertation. Here, I guess if you can demonstrate it through other research trainings or your professional experiences, that would be perfectly fine. And if I'm not misreading this question, is it like one each in masters and PhD, or only one? Aisha, whether Aisha is asking about the thesis which you have to submit afterwards, or which we already have done.
Yeah, Aisha, if you can just clarify.
Thank you so much for the session. My question is, at the end of this, do they ask you to come up or complete 2 written pieces of work, one at the conclusion of your master's and then at the conclusion of your PhD, or it's just one thesis that emerges at the end of the process?
Yeah. It's the part of same basically. For example, let me tell you, even if you are applying for +3, there will be 2 parts. First year will be your MPhil. It's considered as MPhil even though it's PhD, and there will be an upgrade. So similarly, it acts for 1+3 as well. Even if you are doing masters, you will be working on the same project which you had pitched for. to these DTPs or the scholarships. So maybe in the first year you will submit one introductory note or the just literature review or something, some kind of drafts. And best part about UK is it's very much flexible. At least here, I don't know if MISBA, how is it for MISBA at Oxford, but here at King's, it's much more flexible. You can submit introduction or just research method or the expanded form of your research proposal which you submitted, or just literature review, 1 or 2 chapters, 8,000 words, around 8,000 to 12,000 words. So that's how it happens. So every year there are stages. So these stages are divided across this 1+3, 2+2, and whether it's +3 as well. So it's similar, and it depends mostly on the given relationship with your supervisor as well, how they want it, and it's very much flexible. I don't think we have to really worry about it. It goes in linear manner only. First you develop your own ideas more, you develop your research proposal, read more literature and submit drafts on it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, at Oxford, it's we also have, when we start with probationary research students, and then we have this thing called the transfer of status, where we have to submit a 10,000 word document and another research proposal, like a more detailed research proposal with chapters, and we have a viva for that, and then you get then you become like a DPhil candidate. But it's just a part of the whole process of the PhD. It's not a separate submission, but at the end of it, there's still the one thesis that you produce. But all of this is just sort of in a process to get to that.
Yeah, yeah. So that is. I also have one more question from Uzair.
Yeah.
It's oh sorry, I said that. Anyway, so the question is, I am a PhD scholar in an Indian university. Can you please inform me where I can apply for international organization division? Where can I apply for international organization division? I am interested to work on sovereignty crisis. Okay, maybe you will have to uh, I have a lot of supplementary questions on the question you have. So I will drop my email ID maybe, and we can chat in there and see how it happens. I have one more. Okay, no, this is Karthike's supplementary question. That's fine. It's addressed. Yeah, I guess questions with me are also done.
Okay. So we're at the end of the session anyway. It's almost 1 hour. No, sorry, it's more than an hour. It's been 1.5 hours, sorry. So we're quite far into the session now. So if there are no more questions, we'll end the session now. Hitesh has very kindly dropped his email ID in chat. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, you can send them an email directly about the LISS-DTP and the SeNSS DTP. For those of you who are mentees with us, you know where to reach out to us, whether it's the programs or the operations team. And if you are not a mentee with us, then if you have any queries, feel free to reach out to us at info@project.eduaccess.com. I have dropped an email for that. As you know, this is a recorded session, and so we'll upload the recording of this session on our YouTube channel, and I'm just going to drop a link to that as well. And as Hitesh mentioned, we've done workshops on writing research proposals for your PhD, for PhD applications more generally across social sciences and humanities in different countries. And we've also done a range of scholarship workshops. All of those are on our YouTube channel. But for the resources that Hitesh mentioned about the guides, you will find them here, and I've put a link to that as well. So these are a set of resources. One of them is a set of guides on application documents that includes drafting a drafting a research proposal, statement of purpose, and personal statement for applications. So these are all open access, so feel free to use them and curate your drafts. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much, Hitesh, once again for taking the time out and giving such a comprehensive presentation and for being so patient with the questions. And I'm sure this helped a lot of potential applicants. And thank you everyone who joined us today.
Thank
Hope you
you
all
for
have.
giving this opportunity as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, all the best, everyone, and
Yeah.
have a
Thank you
nice
so much.
weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye everyone. See you.